Hey guys, it's Russ Philpott here, and I just wanted to do a follow-up from the live business conference that I went to. That I was able to get a ticket complimentary through Dave and Rachel Hollis, who were the organizers of that. Now I don't know them personally, but Mandy reached out to them and said that she thought I belonged there, and I don't know if I always agree, so I decided to go, although I will admit that going by myself caused a lot of anxiety for me. And as I'm going in there, and I almost canceled the trip probably 2, 3 times, literally, even though, and I don't know if you guys experience this, where you have like the pathway and doors just keep opening for you, and it's a path that you've wanted to go, and as you look down the hallway you're like, yes, that's where I do want to go, and that's where I've wanted to go, and I've been saying this for so long, and saying it over and over and over. And there all the doors were open, and as I looked down the hallway, all I felt was anxiety, and all I felt was fear about traveling that path that was laid out for me, and miraculously the doors just kept opening. So I get to the conference in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm traveling by myself, and the anxiety is just ratcheting up each day. But I've made a decision that I'm going. So I get there, and of course I get there just barely in time to register. And as I'm registering, there's tons of people there, so I'm a little bit late getting into this arena that probably holds, I don't know, 10 to 12,000 people. And the conference is hosting 6,000 people. So of course, having that much anxiety and feeling like I don't belong there, I found the perfect seat for me, and it was in the very, very back of the arena, at the very, very highest level, and all the way back against the furthest wall, so I could feel the most safe there that I possibly could, because obviously I didn't belong there. As a new business owner who's trying to figure things out, the doubts and the fears and the anxiety and the negative self-talk was just kicking at an extremely high volume. So as I'm sitting there, and the very first morning of the 3-day conference, they have a section called Stand Up for Yourself. And so I brought the book that, and I'll show you, this was the book, and I wrote lots of notes in there, but this is the Stand Up for Yourself. As you can see, the book has seen better days, and as soon as I got back from the conference, the very first time that I left the book alone at home with the dogs, they decided they were not as happy as I was to have gone to the conference. But in the very first morning, one of the very first sessions, they had this section called Stand Up for Yourself. And they wanted to confront all the personal challenges that you have in your own mind about being a small business owner and being successful and coming to this conference. And so they have you check off these things while you're there in your seat. And the first one says, I am in debt because of my business. The next one says, I doubt myself on a daily basis. My business negatively impacts my personal life. I worry I'm not strong enough to pull this off. I sometimes feel like an imposter. I have lost focus on why I started my business. I feel ashamed that my business isn't further along. I am not the leader I want to be. I have abused alcohol or drugs as a way to cope. My partner isn't supportive of my business. I self-sabotage. I've had to lay people off because of my mismanagement of money. And so there's a few more there, but this was like a punch to the gut, because there was so many on here that I'm checking off, that I'm feeling as I'm sitting up in the very back row of this arena of this. But it hit me so hard, because I'm thinking there's no way that everyone else is feeling these things as well. So then they say, okay, now we're going to read these off one by one, and I want each person to stand up when these things resonate for you, or if it's something that you checked off. And of course, then my anxiety shoots through the roof. Um, but I decided, because they had asked you to go all in on this, and so I said, I'm here. I'm going to do this as much as I can, jump in with both feet being in the very last row. You can't jump too high because you might tumble down and cascade down the stadium seating. But anyway, as I decide to stand up on these, and the first one I stand up for is I doubt myself on a daily basis. And I stood up, and it was hard to stand up. And I was thankful that maybe half of the whole arena also stood up with me. I worry I'm not strong enough to pull this off. And again, all these people are standing with me. I sometimes feel like an imposter. This one definitely resonated with me. And thousands of people are standing up with me. And I just started to feel a shift that I'm not alone in this. And there's so many people who are struggling to travel down that hallway where the path of what they want is right in front of them. But they're terrified, and these negative messages come up so strongly. And I have people that are doing great work in therapy, and they'll have these beautiful insights and ways that they can approach things that have just been beating them down. And they feel empowered by the time that they leave. And I was starting to feel empowered again, one, that I wasn't alone. And it reminded me that, yes, we have, I work with these negative thoughts all the time with my clients. And we're reminded that we have somewhere between 60,000 and 100,000 thoughts that go through our head in one day. And in that spectrum there is very, very negative thoughts, very positive thoughts, neutral thoughts, and then everything in between. And I'm always telling people, and this was a good reminder to me as well, that when those negative thoughts come up and our brain goes there, that your body can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So my brain goes to, I'm an imposter. And then my body starts to follow where my brain goes, and then it creates the experience of feeling like an imposter, of feeling like a failure, of feeling all the self-doubt, and all of those things. So just within minutes of focusing on those negative thoughts, our body will start to create the sensations that go along with that. So it's a good reminder, but sometimes we need to really step out of our comfort zones, walk down that hallway of that thing that we've wanted, and especially when other people are saying this is a good path for you. But sometimes you have to travel this path alone, because not everyone can understand the inner knowingness that you have, that that is the right path for me, even when sometimes it's just a deep knowingness, just at your gut level. But along the way, you will be confronted by these negative thoughts, the doubts, and sometimes from other people, ways that they maybe don't, not even intentionally, but sometimes will hold us back as well. So as I'm sitting there, and then through the rest of the conference, I started to get a little bit more comfortable with it. And in fact, I came back from lunch that day and looked at my lanyard that said General Admission Plus. And I looked around and I'm like, well, wait a second, I'm with all the other general admission, but mine says plus, and I wonder what that means. And suddenly I realized that I'm looking at my seating chart, that I have access to being right up next to the stage. And it blew me away, because here I am playing it safe up in the balcony. And so it wasn't until the end of the first day that I realized where I could sit. And so then the next day I went down there, and the experience started to change, and I started to have to believe that not only did I belong there, but they wanted me to be there, even when I doubted it. So I got there and I got a lot out of it. So the second day was on marketing and sales, something else that makes me very uncomfortable, sales. And then the last day was about leadership and about dreaming big. And we had to share actually our dream and our vision with someone sitting next to us, which is hard to kind of lay that out for a complete stranger. But as I did it, the person looked back at me and said, "You're not dreaming big enough." And it wasn't that I was shooting way up in the stars, I was limiting myself. So much of this really confronted my own personal beliefs, my own beliefs about myself and what I'm capable of. And yet there was a stirring inside of me that as I was starting to get re-energized and remembering how to dream again. So I'm hopeful that we can all confront some of these new challenges and confront those negative thoughts and realize that they're just thoughts. But those thoughts are powerful when we stay focused on it and when we create that experience of it, because your body can't tell the difference. So then when I set and I steered my thoughts towards something that was more positive and allowed myself to dream again and to dream bigger than what I thought was possible, my energy started to go up. And then of course, my thoughts go here, my body follows. And my body is creating the experience of dreaming big and excitement again. So then, of course, I come home and I am on fire for this stuff. And the next day I come into the office and guess what happens? Everything that we thought was in place, all the groundwork that we laid, it was like it had all fallen apart. And so many times I think this happens. And of course then my dogs, if I'm taking this as a sign, they didn't really think that this was such a great thing. Maybe they were just hungry or hadn't gotten their rawhides recently. I don't know. But so many times we'll do that and people will get energized working in here. And then the next day, things fall apart. And we take it as confirmation that yes, I am an imposter and no, I'm not good enough. And I want to challenge you to say, yes, you may not be good enough right now, but let's keep working the process. You start with the insights. You keep feeding those dreams. You keep feeding those positive insights. You keep reaching for your support. And you keep pushing your mind in that better direction to say, let's work through this. And just because you have the insights doesn't mean that you're ready to fully step into that role as a leader or in a positive direction in your life. Even if you're not a leader, if it just knowing, and my pastor said it yesterday, is just because you have this new insight and this new revelation and this new love doesn't mean that you really necessarily know how to walk that path yet. So keep at it. I will be pulling for you, and please, I hope too that you pull for me and anyone who's struggling to make those changes to be moving in a new direction. Anyway, that was my experience. I hope it helps. And again, when we figure out those negative thoughts are just thoughts, and if we can figure out a way to eliminate those thoughts, let me know. We'll write a book together. But in the meantime, what we have to learn is how to detach from those negative thoughts, which can really grip us and really take hold of our lives and really shape our experience. So challenge each other, support each other, encourage each other, listen to each other, and let's make this a good day. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Take care. See if I can figure out how to turn this off. This is a new phone.